Hello again, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and I hope you're doing super fantastic. I'm doing pretty well myself. And lately, I hear a lot of people talk about AI, artificial intelligence, and how at some point in the near future, distant future, whatever, at some point, it will become sentient, meaning it will become self aware or it will become conscious like a unit of consciousness, just like you and me. Right? That's what they're implying, that it will become self-aware and be just like we are. Be a person thinking for itself, having maybe having emotions. I mean, I got to believe if it's going to become a person, if it's going to become self-aware, if it's going to be that on that level, then it's going to have emotions and all of that. Now, if let's pretend for 1 second that that's true. If something were that powerful and also had the ability to have emotions on its own, that would be rather dangerous. Right? I mean, it just would. I mean, most things most well, things that are done that we would consider to be dangerous are usually based on an emotional decision. But anyway, so I think about that and I think, well, could that happen? First of all, could that happen? And I'm like, well, I don't, as a spiritual person, I think no, it couldn't. Because, and I do use the words units of consciousness, right, on purpose, because I do know, anybody that's listening to me at all knows that I do believe in the source, right? Source consciousness, universal consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it, right? And it is emanating light energy down through the creation, down through the levels of creation, right? And is and that's why we are called that we have the divine spark of that universal consciousness within each of us, because we are, like, you are part of it, I am part of it, everything is part, and everyone is part of the divine, is a divine spark from the universal consciousness. And AI would not have that divine spark. It's not emanating from that. It's not created from that. It's not the same as we are. I mean, just by in its own, in the phrasing and the terminology and the wording, artificial intelligence. It is artificial. Is it intelligent? I mean, I guess if at some point, if it becomes what we would call, I guess, the singularity, when it becomes self-aware or whatever you want to say, at that point we would call it, say, yes, it is intelligent, just like we are. But what do we mean by intelligence? Do we mean book smarts? It knows everything. Well, it's already intelligent, if that's the case. If we're talking about things that it knows, well, it's already intelligent, very intelligent, far more than any single person could ever be. But it doesn't. But does it reason? Right? Does it reason the same way we do? No, it does not. It reasons by algorithm. It reasons by studying what others have done in the past, and just human behavior. And then, I guess, extrapolates an answer based on that analysis. And that's not really reasoning. That's not using your mind to, and I almost said brain. I almost said brain. And that's the thing. Mind and brain are two different things. Artificial intelligence, brain, sure. Mind, no. Because your mind is your spirit, your spiritual higher self, right? Anyway, so it is artificial intelligence. We are organic intelligence. So we are OI. It's AI, we're OI. we're organic intelligence. So I don't think that it could ever be truly be sentient. Now, could it ever be like an all knowing, all seeing? Yes. In the physical construct that we are in, yes, it absolutely could be. It could be very all knowing, all seeing. And I use the word could be because I don't think it ever will be. I don't think it would be permitted to be. And I'll get to that in a minute. But when we, but, okay, for example, here we go. All our phones, every device we have, even refrigerators now, are connected to the cloud, right? That's why we're able to use the cloud as an analogy to how we are all connected. All divine sparks, all all of it that's in creation is connected, interconnected, like a very, very intricate, very just web, and we emanate from the source, right? And that's why using the cloud and all the devices and technology and everything that we have in the world is a great analogy to describe that. But anyway, so everything we have is connected to the cloud these days, even cars, you name it. So if this AI could ever, and I believe that could possibly happen, sure, but could it ever interpenetrate every aspect, everything that is connected to the cloud, everything that is connected via internet or whatever, in some way, could it then use all of those things to map, to spy, to listen in, do whatever? Yes, that could happen. And therefore, at that point, it would be all-knowing and all-seeing in the physical. Now, could it ever penetrate into the astral plane or even the spiritual planes? No, I don't think it could. I mean, I guess some people would argue that, well, it possibly could, only because, and the argument for that would be, because the astral is still a part of this matrix. It's just on a different vibration, a different vibrational level. It's like, okay, I understand that is part that. I'm not sure I'm with it, but they say that is part of this matrix. That's the bigger part, the bigger picture, I suppose. Like, well, I don't necessarily think that. I do believe that once we leave this physical, we are out of this system, this environment, right? But whatever. So even if they're true, even if that is part of the entire matrix, it's like, could that interpenetrate into that? I'm like, I don't think so, because it requires some form of electronic device to exist, to operate, right? I mean, like, if there were an EMP, electromagnetic pulse attack, or from the sun, some big, huge coronal ejection from the sun, EMP just completely fries, just obliterates all electronics on Earth. Well, that would pretty much be the end of AI, right? I mean, wouldn't it? I mean, it wouldn't affect us. It doesn't affect us in that way. I mean, it would certainly affect us because we're so dependent on our electronic devices, but I'm talking about our biology. So there's that. But anyway, dear loved one, hey, hit the like button if you haven't yet done so. That'd be fantastic. Also, if you have not subscribed to this channel, that would also be good too. So yeah, I'd appreciate that. I really would. Anyway, so now getting back to whether or not AI could be sentient. I've already kind of established the fact, no, it could not, because it is not a divine spark of the Creator. It just ain't got it like that, right? So there's that. But I'm like, okay, but then we get down to, well, could it? But would it be permitted to? I suppose is what I'm getting at. I don't think it would even be permitted to get to that all-knowing, all-seeing status, because we do have still to deal with the archons, which would be the negative entities that have, for lack of a better term, hijacked this realm, hijacked this construct. And that it's what keeps us, humanity, in those low vibrational states. As I've said before, I believe that we, our higher selves, our souls, our spirit actually, but we are present. I got to presented with an opportunity, I guess, to come into this construct. And so therefore we willingly come here. And as I've said before, not only willingly, but we enthusiastically come here because we realize, wow, I can go into that. I can experience mortality, life and death. And when you're on the outside and you're an immortal, that's a big deal. Like to us, we're like, I don't want to experience death. Well, you got to look at it from that perspective, from that 30,000 foot view. That is an experience that you can only have in something like this. But anyway, so we look at the prospect of going into this environment. And I got to believe we got excited. Like, yeah, it's beautiful there. It's very diverse. I mean, as far as the life and just everything there. There's so much. There's so much here that we can learn from, grow from. We can gain enlightenment. We can gain wisdom, insight. So much growth can be had in these very short lifetimes. Why wouldn't we come into this, right? So here we are. But once we get in here, it's like if you were going, it's like in Vegas. In Las Vegas, I think they used to at least give you you could get a free meal ticket, like a big, really nice meal ticket. But you got to walk all the way through the casino to get to it. So it's like, okay. So if you walk like 200 yards to the back of this place or whatever, you can get a free ticket to get a nice big meal. Great. So walk back there, get that, and come back up here, and there you go. So you set out to walk back there to get that ticket. And as you're walking through, the goal of the place is so that you will stop and play machines, you'll stop and gamble, you'll stop in this, you'll stop in that. You'll spend a ton of money between here and there and back to here. Right? So I believe that's kind of what's happened here. We come into this with the goal of gaining insight, wisdom, knowledge, enlightenment, all of those things. And along the way, we got distracted. Along the way, it's like, squirrel, right? I mean, squirrel. There we go. And now we have forgotten what we came here to do. And I don't mean you, dear loved one. I just mean humanity as a whole. Thankfully, there are those of us who are waking up. And as I've said before, I believe that more and more people are waking up. The rate at which people are waking up is accelerating. And the speed at which those individuals are waking is also accelerating. Everything is accelerating. Which also makes me believe that something is coming to a head. Something is about to happen. And that's... We'll get. I'm going to. If I go there, I'm going to resets. Right? I always go to resets. I'm not going to do that. But anyway, so we got distracted along the way. I just got distracted, didn't I? Anyway, so we got distracted along the way. Forgot who we were. Got lulled to sleep. And now here are these archons. They have not necessarily trapped us here. See, a lot of people say this is a soul trap. We've been trapped here. But we've been tricked into believing that we're trapped here because you're not really trapped here. But if you believe you are, well, then you are. I mean, that's how it is. If you believe that you're trapped in this realm, if you believe you're trapped here, then you are. So anyway, but these archons, they have convinced us that we're trapped here. They're convinced us that if we don't live in fear of hell or whatever, if we don't live in fear and act right, then things are going to go very badly for us. And whatever. But anyway, so, and I'm really I'm going to go ahead and go there. But so these archons, they feed off of the loosh, that low vibrational energy that comes off of us when we are in anxiety and fear. That's why you'll never see that there will always be war and famine and strife and things like that in the world. I shouldn't say always, but for the foreseeable future, there will be, because these archons feed off of that low vibrational energy that is emitted in those situations. For example, a friend and I were talking very recently about during the Vietnam War, the helicopter pilots they had these infrared goggles, and these very specific kind. Like they've got night vision goggles now that don't do this, but these were like an infrared. They could see at night. But well, very quickly these helicopter pilots were like, I'm not wearing those. I'm not using them. I don't care. I'm not using them. And pretty much unanimously, at least the ones that would talk about it, a lot of them wouldn't even talk about it, but they were seeing these very scary beings. They were there when they had the goggles on. They take the goggles off, not there, right there, not there. These goggles enabled them to see, I got to believe, the archons. They described them as demons. They said they saw these demons. They were everywhere, and basically it was like a feast for them because it's a war. It's a war zone because of all the fear and panic and death and anxiety, just all the things that go along with the war zone. And they said there were these demons everywhere, and it was like a feast for them because of all the very negative, low vibrational energy that's been produced in that war zone. Something to think about. So that's why I say we need to really work on overcoming fears and work on not feeding into anxiety by watching the news and things like that, because that makes us useful to these negative beings. And that also explains why they would love to convince us that we're trapped here. That when we, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, we must come back. And we get here and we're in that constant state of fear. And we believe that we are born into sin and all of that. And we are stuck. We're screwed. It's definitely in their interest for us to believe that. Also, if we were to ever all get out of here, they would become irrelevant. It would be like a video game, like an RPG video game where you have a map and there's all kinds of players that come in and they're all playing and this and that and whatever. But eventually they all graduate out of here. And they're all gone. What's left? But if you ever played Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that, there's always the dungeon master, which is the guy, it's like the all-seeing eye in the sky. Can make things happen, knows what's going on behind the scenes, what's going on around that corner, all of those things. That would be the overseer. That would be what we would think of the archons, sort of. Or at least the big one, the demiurge. But anyway, so let's say all these players are playing this game on this map, but they all graduate out. They all ascend out. At which point, the only thing that's left is the map and that overseer. Nothing. It's just a blank. It's just a map where a lot of people used to be, and an overseer that used to feed off their negative emotions. That's what this place will be when we all ascend out. But I got to believe there's going to be more souls cycled in, but that's a whole other video. That's a whole other thing. In fact, I probably shouldn't have even gone to all this anyway. I was talking about AI, wasn't I? So, getting back to the archons and AI, I believe that these archons, the demiurge, would absolutely not allow AI to become that powerful. Because basically, that's what the archons, the demiurge, is. It is also an AI. Not in the same sense as ours, maybe, really. But from our perspective, it's on I don't want to say spiritual level because it doesn't have a spirit, but in the astral, in the mental realm, it's very much, it believes that it is God over this physical realm. And it would not allow some other system, OpenAI or whatever, to come along and be that powerful. So, I'm kind of convinced that people are going to begin worshiping AI at some point. They're already talking to it as, like, hey, talk to me like you're Jesus or talk to me like you're Buddha and let me ask you questions. They're already doing things like that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I do believe that the archons won't allow that to happen. They'll shut it down in a reset. And that's why I think that things are speeding up. Something's about to happen. What it is, I can't be for sure. Reset, I don't know. I tend to think so, but I can't prove it. It's just a personal theory, I suppose. But I do believe that everything is speeding up. Time is speeding up. Things are changing. Now, I'm going to cut this off here, but in my next video, I do believe that I'll talk about the John Baudrillard's and the 4 stages of the simulacrum, and how this reality is a copy of an original, but it originally was a copy of an original, but it has morphed to the point where it doesn't even resemble what it was a copy of. And at the 4th stage, it's not even faking it anymore. It's like, yeah, this is a copy, but it's a copy that has no original. It's artificial. Everything in our reality is becoming artificial. And time is definitely speeding up. So anyway, loved ones, I'm going to cut it off here, but let me know what you think in comments and all of that. I would really appreciate it. This is something that I think is fascinating. And I think it lets us know, those of us who are awakening, that we're definitely on the right path. We're definitely on the right track. There is a reason for all of these things. And if we are able to help others wake up, we should absolutely do it. Anyway, dear loved one, that's what I got for you. Please hit the like button. I would appreciate it. If you have not subscribed yet, I don't know what you're waiting on. Just go ahead and do it. I'm not going to shut up about it. So anyway, and yeah, I love you dearly. I truly do. And I'll be back directly.